Yes, and welcome back. This is Islandish podcast, and we are here with episode number 3. And I have a very special guest in the building, as always, Mr. CEO and founder of the King and Queens Project, Mr. Darrol Stubbs. Darrol.
Hello.
Thank you for coming on the show.
And thank you for having me.
It is a pleasure. Now, Darrol, I must give you your kudos, your tops, tip my hat off to you for keeping pageantry and something that I love so much alive here in Freeport, Grand Bahama, and in the Bahamas on the whole. So before we dive too deep into that, tell my listeners and my viewers a little bit about who you are, what you do exactly, and what is the King and Queens Project.
So, hello to all of our listeners and viewers.
Yes.
I really don't know how she got me here, but I am here nonetheless. Well, as she would have introduced me as Darrol Stubbs, and yes, I do have a love and a passion for pageantry, and one of my goals is to really keep pageantry alive in not only in Grand Bahama but in the Bahamas, because it doesn't get a lot of attention, and it doesn't get a lot of support, but it's something that we're connected to through your own experiences and through mine as well. But other than that, I am a pageant coach. I am a model coach. I am an image consultant, producer. It's quite a number of things under my belt. Several hats. And I was introduced as the founder and the owner of the King and Queens Project, which is an organization that I would have started almost 16 years ago.
Oh, wow.
But I didn't really brand it until about 6 years ago.
Okay.
With the King and Queen Project, that it's an organization that I started to help develop and refine young men and women through pageantry mostly. That's how it started. But then I realized that people need some help, some guidance in finding themselves and their own unique style and their own creativity and everything. And then, of course, again, there is pageantry. Pageantry is always number one on my list. But that's why it started, because I found that a lot of people that I worked with and a lot of people that I liked and would have liked to help and had great potential to do well in pageantry didn't have the means and the resources to do it.
Right.
So that's how I started, almost like a little Cinderella's closet kind of thing. That's how that began. And training and coaching people free of charge.
Okay.
Just to help them. And I even blew myself away because we have quite a track record.
Yes.
With that,
I have to say, you're kind of high in terms of the winning percentage over there, Darrol.
Oh yeah.
People know if you want to win a pageant, I think the person you need to call is Darrol. He can make sure you're straight. He can make sure you're good. So as we dive deeper and more into this pageantry conversation, because this is going to be a big and deep conversation we're going to have, and we're going to not only touch on pageantry and what you are able to do with the King and Queens Project, we're going to talk about how pageantry has changed over the years, because pageantry used to be something that was truly entrenched in the community. It used to be sometimes the events to look forward to every single year, the preliminary events, the final nights, and even following queens as they do different things throughout their reigns. So when it comes to that, what made you even get into pageantry initially?
Well, pageant wasn't the thing that made me it started with modeling.
Okay.
And just entertainment on the whole, and being on stage and performing, being backstage and behind the scenes and watching this happen, this all unfold. My dad was a performer.
Okay.
He was a dancer, and he used to perform a lot at the Camelot Room.
Okay.
Over at the Princess Hotel. And then I had, in my community, my mom was in beauty, so there was hair shows and pageants, and then my neighbors doing modeling shows and pageants and whatnot. So it was just all around me. I just could not escape that. But I was just really intrigued by everything that happened backstage and the way it would play out on stage for the viewing audience and stuff like that. So knowing the stress, the hard work it put into producing and planning and preparing, putting on the show, and then, everybody being able to enjoy something so beautiful at the end of the day. So it really started there, and I was 10 years old when I decided that I wanted to actually follow suit And, yeah, in that area.
Because if y'all don't know, like, me and Darrol were a part of the Freeport Players Guild, and we've been, well, for me...
Yes, we're theater kids.
Yeah, we're theater kids. And anybody who knows about the arts and theater and the type of community and energy that's surrounded around it, it's almost like you're home away from home, and it has such an impact not only on your personality, but also on your ambitions and your goals and things that you want to do. So I got my initial introduction to pageantry with the Miss Junior Grand Bahama Project. And that pageant organization, and I have to say that really helped me to break out of my shell, because anybody who know me back then in Freeport, y'all know I was a tomboy wearing Converse and pastry tennis and wasn't the furthest thing from model, but entering pageantry really helped me to step into my femininity.
And that's what it does, and that's what it's there for, you know.
So that's a major part of it for me, and it also helped me, because I always had confidence a little bit, but being able to refine it a bit better and help it to be a little bit more poised and a little bit more polished. So with projects like back then with the Miss Junior Grand Bahama pageant, and even when I went to Nassau for the Theodore Elliott Miss Teen Bahamas pageant, which was back then the premier
It's right when I first heard the name Yami.
Right, that was like the premier pageants in the country. Big ups to Theodore Seeley. Still favorite hands down pageant coach I ever had. And even looking at that in that community, why do you feel like pageantry has started to dwindle a lot since compared to back then? Because I'm talking about 2011.
Yeah, 2011. Well, around 2011, 2012 would have been like, or maybe the last year or two that pageantry was a big thing and something that people did look forward to.
Right.
And it was well respected.
Yes.
But I think maybe what's caused it to dwindle now a lot has to do with people or maybe pageant directors and producers not truly having a love or a passion for the art.
Okay.
But they just do it and they see it as a way to maybe make money and stuff like that. So the time and attention that it takes to embrace your queen and nurture your queen and teach your queen and develop your queen and put her out there and so on and so forth, as well as your system at the same time, because she's representing the pageantry system as well. A lot of people don't have, persons, I don't think, like I said, have that kind of passion and that love for it to do that. So it's kind of lost its way, and then so you have people just winning titles and then they're just sitting. Right. You don't see them out in the community like how you used to see Miss Teen Bahamas or Miss Bahamas and whatnot. And then, that would give girls or everybody else in the community a chance to say, I see this person, I want to be that person, or, and stuff like that. So it's kind of just faded over the years. And that's why it's been hard trying to keep pageantry alive. And that's why I decided to take it into the high schools.
Right, okay.
With
the high school project you have going on.
Now, the Bahamas National High School pageant I have going on. And with that too, I always believe that especially with our Miss Bahamas queens, our national queens, that being universe and world queens, they go off, but most of them, when they compete for Miss Bahamas universe or Miss Bahamas world, that is their very first pageant.
That's
so they
tough.
actually have no real pageant experience other than that time when they captured the title. And then they go off internationally and they have to compete against women who've been doing, whose family born, they out of the womb, like you're a little Miss PV something.
The little toddler pageants that they usually have.
They're groomed and into this world of pageantry, so that's all they know and that's all they look forward to. Like, so the ultimate goal is their national pageant, or it is going to Miss Universe and going to Miss World. We don't have that. Once upon a time that was a dream for Bahamian girls, but we no longer have that. So I'm trying to find ways to creatively or uniquely bring that back into our younger people, because we do have some pageants, some that never left, but it's like I said, it's struggling. The pageant community in the Bahamas is struggling, and I feel that putting it back into the schools, which is the first step, would then open their eyes or expose them to it, and then they will then, because once they experience it, for some reason, something about pageantry is like once you put your foot in it, get your feet wet, and that's
it.
Yeah.
Once you break those pageant feet in, like that's just the way you to stand. That's just the way you to sit. That's just the way I to talk. Like it just, you're right, it comes really, really engraved in your persona and the way you carry yourself. So do you feel that, especially with pageantry, because mostly what you're talking about right now is like more like mentorship. So you feel that pageantry now is starting to lose that sense of mentorship, where it's like you're not just holding a title, I'm trying to groom a young man or a young lady.
It has lost it. So that's what with the Bahamas National High School Pageant is doing, creating leaders, just reminding them that we still have, the Bahamas is still, we still have a level of excellence that we try to do things in, and so on and so forth. So that's what I'm trying to do with the younger people. Mentoring them and keeping them alive, keeping the art alive. And it's not just pageantry, at whatever their talents are, whatever creative.
Because you also do other than pageantry, you do modeling and other things like that in terms of coaching.
Yes. Okay. In terms of coaching, mentoring, all in pageantry. And I think too, just like pageantry, just like with the theater, once you start there, you don't get it. Yeah, you're locked in for life. Yes, and you just want to keep going and finding ways to keep it fun and relevant. Yeah, that's the way we should look at pageantry, right? Or at least to keep it going.
Definitely. So, with you saying that you're introducing it in the high schools, and also congratulations on Little Miss Skylar. Yes, Little Miss Piper.
Yeah, Little Miss Piper.
Big up to Mama Piper. Amazing job with her. Her performance was exceptional. And the one thing I gotta say about, you could always tell when young girls and young boys are in the King and Queens project. They just have that certain flair. They just have that Darrol touch, I just call it. They just have that Darrol touch when it comes to their performance, their on-stage presence, the things that they say, and also their costumes. Because one thing I could say, you definitely lead in the pack when it comes to wardrobe and costumes, when it comes to your team. So do you have a team of people working along with you, or is this all just Darrol?
I do have a team. Sometimes the team is required, and sometimes I don't necessarily need the team, but I still consult with them. So we do have makeup artist. I do have an on-hand makeup artist. I do have an on-hand hairstylist and stuff like that. I have even me. I still need mentoring and
right. in terms of what goes on.
In terms of what goes on and how I manage things and organize myself and so on and so forth. So I do have a team, and everything is basically put forth the team, but it's mostly whatever the concept. When you come to me as a client and I put together your package and your concepts and whatnot, I do everything to suit the client, to suit you, and I feel, I give you a chance to tell me what it is you want to represent, how you want to present yourself, and then that's when I step in. I'm like, okay, no, this is what you're gonna need. This will help you. Maybe this may be a nice. This gown may be pretty, but it doesn't suit you. It won't do anything for you. So the gown will be wearing you on the stage. Yes. So all of these is so much that you have to take into consideration when preparing somebody for their respective competitions, and then too, you have to know the competitions because they're not all judged the same.
Right.
They look for different things in these pageants, and not every pageant is for everybody. You have to know what's for you.
Right.
So I always encourage people to do their research, because most times some people will come to me and they would be like, hey, I would like you to train me and prepare me for this pageant. And I'm like, that pageant's not for you.
Right.
They're disappointed, but then again, I would explain to them why I don't think that pageant suits them, or why they should go for that, and so on and so forth. Whereas some people would be like, just let them do it for the experience. While I believe in that, I also want your experience to be the best one possible, hopefully. And
also you want to waste people money too.
Right. And that's another thing too. That's part of why the King and Queen project was developed. Everybody's like, they tell me, say I'm the reasonable person when it comes to that, but I don't do that for everybody. I've been able to, after so many years of doing it for so long, because it is a very lucrative business, and it can be, and to be honest, and people won't believe me when I say this, I really don't walk away with anything in terms of finances, financial gain from this, which I would like to, but it's just not there yet, because I see where people struggle, and I know the struggle, because I to myself, having to compete, and we'll get into a little bit of that.
Yes.
And you yourself having to compete in pageants and stuff, it's not pennies.
Yeah, it's not very, pennies, very expensive, especially if you want to win. You're gonna have to pay.
It's very expensive. especially if you want to win. But with the King and Queens project, like I said, I started that with wanting to help people who didn't have the resources to do that.
Right.
And those people are the most humble, some of those persons, the most humble queens ever. And sure enough, they did it. They competed. I worked with them. We did whatever we needed to do, pulled whatever I could pull from my closet or whatever resources that I had. And they were victorious. Most of them, if not the queen, the first runner-up. And I'm proud with that. And they're happy, for their placements and whatnot.
Love it, love it, love it. So we're going to take a nice short little commercial break. Then when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about our personal pageant experiences, some of the things that we are seeing changing when it comes to pageantry here in the Bahamas, and have some fun jokes as well. So don't go nowhere.
Hi everybody, I'm Jason.
And I'm Cheryl. Join us here on Superior Talk Bahamas YouTube channel every Tuesday at 6 for Let's Talk.
Where we talk about issues that matter to you. We try to come up with workable, practical solutions so we have more action and less talk.
See you on Tuesday.
Yo, what's up, Bahamas? My name is Andrew Williams, aka Cat.
And I'm your boy Mix.
And we're representing Off the Bench, the number one talk sportcast in the Bahamas.
In the world, my boy.
My bad partner. So
Yeah.
we cover anything sports throughout the Bahamas. We cover our Bahamian athletes wherever they are, and they're making waves in sports. We cover them.
Hey, just tune in. That's every Wednesday here on Superior Talk at 6 o'clock p.m.
The number one talk show
In the world, Craig.
Ready? Yes, so we are back here with Islandish podcast with the wonderful Darrol Stubbs, and we are talking all about pageantry here in the Bahamas. We initially started talking about the King and Queens project and what you're doing here in Freeport, Grand Bahama, and what you're also introducing to the high school level. So now let's talk a little bit more about that process. When it comes to finding young people or even young people coming to you, what are some of the misconceptions or hurdles you have to go through, especially sometimes dealing with the parents who probably don't want their child to get into pageantry? I know my daddy initially, my parents was like, I ain't too sure about the whole bathing suit thing.
It's always the daddies.
So what are some of the things you see as is usually like a misconception that a lot of persons have about pageantry?
The first thing is exploitation.
Okay.
They think about that, especially with the little ones. But it's how you present them.
Right.
It's what you teach. And then again, like I say, it's what you choose, which pageant you choose, or which model agency or whatever it is you choose to go with. You have that control. You have the authority to say, this is what I would like and this is what I don't like. Now, in terms of people finding me or me finding them, I do have people that would inbox my Instagram page or Facebook page, or they may have gotten my number as a referral for something, and this is with both young men and women. But then I would be in the grocery store or on the bank line, and I see someone and I'm like, hey, have you ever thought about doing a pageant or modeling? That I do a lot, especially with young men.
Yes.
Because they're not usually, young men don't usually come looking for you to want to do pageants or modeling or anything like that. And it takes a little bit more to persuade them. So I usually have to do a test shoot or something like that, or casting that they can experience, and then once they see themselves and they have the experience, or I put them on stage at the King and Queens Project Showcase, which I've been doing for the last 6 years, then it's like, oh, I actually do like this. This actually does work. And especially when they end up getting a booking or two.
Nice.
So then they get excited about it. But yeah, I have no problem. Now, mind you, I'm pretty shy. I'm actually shy. So y'all see me at times.
Listen, Darrol is like, people ain't being shy. I don't know no one in theater
I am mic shy.
who is shy. Not a single one of us are shy. We play shy.
Not that I am stage shy. For some reason, I'm mic shy. I don't like having to speak into a microphone. But I don't know, I somehow find the nerve and the courage to just walk up to strangers and ask them, would you like to be a model, or have you ever thought about it? And that's where I got a lot of my people from, or when they experience it, then they would then bring people in for that.
So another question would be, so how many young people do you have in your program right now?
In the King and Queens Project right now, registered in the Kings and Queens Project, I have 109.
Oh my gosh, Darrol, that's a lot.
109 individuals, and that ranges from ages 6 to 27.
That's a lot.
Ages 6, and I have 16.
Okay. So active would mean what? Like they currently have a title, or they're currently competing?
They're currently still in the process of participating in any activities or events that we have.
Getting bookings,
most
Okay.
of them reigning or preparing for their respective pageants coming up in the next pageant season and whatnot like that.
Okay, wonderful. So now we're going to shift this conversation a little bit and get a little deeper into pageantry and what's going on here in the Bahamas, especially not even just on the Bahamas, on the global scale. You're seeing a lot of women speak out about their pageant experiences not going so well, or promises that they were supposed to receive and things they were supposed to get during their reign not happening. So with all of that happening, how has that impacted your business with the King and Queens project, or also how do you try to avoid that from happening in your program?
Well, for me, and that is a very big issue, especially with our national queens,
right.
With Miss Bahamas and Miss Bahamas Universal and whatnot. As we've seen in the last 6 years, they've all resigned before their give up. Due to lack of support or them not receiving any of the gifts or anything promised to them, or full support when they go off to their international competitions. But for me, and what I try to do, and like I would have mentioned before we went to our commercial break, that my pockets are basically empty, or emptied when it comes to this, especially when it's my king or my queen, because I try to give them the best experience possible, leaving myself most times broke.
Yeah.
or with nothing, but for some reason I'm still always able to pull it off with a lack of funds, and I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that I find that I get most of the kings and queens that I get are always just humble and understanding people, because I'm able to say to them, listen, this is what I wanted for you or would like to have for you, but we don't have this is not happening right now, and they understand, and they're okay with that. And that's the next thing too, having to be open and being able to communicate these things,
transparent.
And, being transparent with what's happening and what's going on, and people respect that. So I think that's why I have such a unique relationship with my kings and queens, because they always know what's going on. Not everything, but just enough
information
that they understand, what's happening, and I think they appreciate that. Just as I would like and appreciate anybody being transparent with me with what's happening and what's going on. And I think that's where we lose a lot of respect for pageantry in the Bahamas, because
you feel like you ain't want to tell, you ain't want to say, you just want cold call people.
And then people feel like they're wasting their time, and then they get disappointed and whatnot. So I'm not gonna get your expectations up so high, and
then leave you high and dry.
I honestly never tell you what to expect, so that there's really no expectation, so that when I do something or as things are happening during your reign, you're surprised, you're appreciative, or like my current king and queen, they're blown away each time something happens, because it's not expected. I don't expect everybody to operate that way, but that's the way I operate, because I don't like broken promises. I don't like looking forward to things or expecting something and it's just not happening, and especially when you have to go off internationally with our people, our queens. I feel that you should have I have this thing that I would say: if you want the best the world has to offer, you must offer the world your best.
Yes,
and
I like that.
I go by that, and I say that to my kings and queens. If you read all my bios or anything that I write, it's always in there. And I always believe in putting your best foot forward. If I can't do something to the best of my ability, or I don't feel that it's representing me
properly,
fully, then I don't do it. I don't go for it. And when we're going off, I do everything that I can to make sure that my kings and queens have what they need to represent their best self, because at the end of the day, they're not just representing themselves, and they're not just representing me. That sash or that banner across their chest says the Bahamas. They're representing an entire country, this entire nation, and that's why I still believe and hope one day that our governing parties would assist us in some way. I know tourism does a little, where they can, but some countries have full support by governing parties when it comes to pageantry. Like they take this thing so seriously.
Right, because you're representing the country. It's almost like you're representing us wherever
Yeah, you're an
you
ambassador.
go. Right.
Wherever you go, as a king or queen, whether it's Miss Bahamas, Mr. Bahamas, Miss Bahamas Universe, the Little Miss, whatever. Some people say these are the little pageants. At the end of the day, when they go, they're representing the Bahamas.
Right.
No matter what the platform is, what the pageant platform is, they're representing the Bahamas. And we should always be behind them and support them, but we don't have that support. And
it's unfortunate.
It's very unfortunate because when they go off and they're on stage and they're competing, we're watching and we're rooting for them. Yes, but we didn't really do anything.
Help them get there. Yeah.
Like as simple as it is, liking a photo or paying $1 for a vote. Our people don't do that. But when it comes to sports,
roll carpet, roll out the
when
carpet.
it comes to sports, the red carpet is rolled out. ZNS is greeting them at the airports, like whatever news outlets, like you get full coverage of that. But our pageant king and queens, they are ambassadors. They are representing the Bahamas just as the athletes are doing so.
Definitely.
And then we have a lot of people who are very, very victorious and triumphant when they go off, but they don't get any acknowledgement or any recognition for that. And I feel like that's unfortunate because that's their contribution to their country.
Yes, and that'll always be there. Like that's always on record.
And it's always on record. That's something that is there. It's something that they actually did.
Yes, definitely. So even shifting the conversation with that, we're talking about the mentorship and things that go into pageantry, because I remember my pageant experience, just like how you say, come up on you and say, hey, you ever thought about... I never forget this. Colette Parker approached me, big ups to Coco, and
Yes,
the
big up to
BDT crew.
Coco.
She approached me when I was attending COB, right here in Freeport. I was enrolled. I think that was like my first semester at COB. She approached me. She said, hey, we're having the Miss Junior Grand Bahama pageant. This is the intro night or the casting call night. You should come just to see what it is. Bring your parents if you want to and see what's going on. And I never thought me going there that one night would end up with me winning that pageant and sending me to Nassau, me winning the national title in Nassau.
That's right.
And I was the only person from a family island who was competing in Nassau. And my dad had to take time off because I had to live in Nassau for basically 2 months. Because listen, I have to tell you, like Theodore Seeley, that Theodore Elliott pageant, that was...
Oh yeah, that was definitely
we
top 10. That was the pageant to follow.
The pageant was only for 2 weeks, the actual preliminary events. But we were training 8-10 weeks prior to. We had practices twice a week. We had certain shoes we had to wear that were given to us because that's what you pay in the pageant package. Everybody has the same style shoe. All us get the same training from the same Toastmaster coach. So it's almost like they made sure all of the girls were at the same level.
Yes, at the same level.
Right.
And that's what makes a great an excellent competition.
Right. Like all of us had the same tools. They told us, okay, this is what you're going to have to do at each competition. These are the things they're going to be looking for. And it's up to you to prepare. It's up to you to get the right dress. Listen, I don't know how my daddy find these people in Nassau to work with me, but he found the right people, the right hairdresser, the right this, the right that, and everything just lined up so perfectly for me. And I'm very thankful for that pageant program because it gave me a lot of the tools I even use now with being a hostess and being on radio and understanding how to do sound bites, how to be quick and how to answer a question when someone asks you
being
it,
able to think on your feet.
right, and not have to fluff. It teaches you these things that I've never gone to a job interview and not get the job. And I have to give that to pageantry.
Yes, pageantry does that for you because in your preparations and you're preparing for and you're training for pageantry, you're trained for interview, you're trained for on stage question and answer, you're trained for media. So all of these things, they help you for the rest of your life. Basically, it's not just in that moment and just for that particular pageant experience, but it stays with you. It sticks with you.
Definitely.
The confidence that people gain, it's just...
Yeah, it's something you honestly can't buy. And even now, some of the girls I did pageants with, I see them all the time. We still the best of friends, even though I win and they lose.
Pageant bonds are like university bonds.
Yeah, like we've been to college together, like it's our own little sorority.
It stays with you forever.
Yes, and even speaking about the current Miss Bahamas Universe, big ups to Sylva Negri. She was in the Theodore Elliott pageant. Yes, and it's like she was in it and she helped us. A lot of the contestants in the year that I was in it, she helped us with it, and to see her now go back to Miss Universe time after time again.
It's
and then
a
when
determination.
they lift up the age limit, because the age limit was 28, and last year they lifted it, and she was able to go back in, and she won. Like, that's a victorious and very inspirational story.
It is. Her story is indeed beautiful.
Definitely. So when we come back, we're going to talk a lot more about the different queens that have been Miss Universe and different title holders throughout the years, and we're also going to talk a little bit more about Darrol's experience as well. So y'all don't go nowhere.
Woo, ciao.
Where you going, mate?
To go buy these tickets for the party tonight.
Why this boy so dumb?
Tickets242.com.
You know how hard it is? They sell tickets for parties, concerts, plays, sporting events, everything. You know how expensive bus is? Well, if you just buy the tickets online, they could just send you it in the email. Then you could just print it off. You know how strong mosquitoes is? Or you could go to the box office downtown or the Genesis Street Girl. You ain't scared of Joneses, eh?
Yes, we are back with Islandish Podcast, episode number 3 with Darrol Stubbs. So we're getting deep into the pageantry conversation, and we're talking a lot more about current pageant queens and things that have happened when it comes to pageantry and how far it has come, and actually, honestly, the recent decline when it comes to the level of competition. And you did mention that it's really important for it to start from young.
Yes.
Especially when you want to go on the international stage and compete.
It's definitely important to start from young, and I think that's where we lost a lot internationally.
Right.
At the big pageants or the Super Bowl of pageant, aka Miss Universe.
Yes.
Because our girls, our women, are beautiful Bahamian women, and we did have some very good prospects that went off to Miss Universe over the last 20 years, but they did not have any pageant experience before they received their national titles.
Right.
So, you know, when they got
there
to Miss Universe, with countries like Venezuela who are top hitters, and Puerto Rico, and now even South Africa
they are upping their
game in pageantry. Like, South Africa is really doing it across the board in all areas in pageantry, male and female, internationally. But that just goes to show, like, because they now started with the little pageants, and though a lot of Bahamians, especially men, when it comes to their daughters, they don't want their daughters to be exposed to pageantry and whatnot, because they say they would make them womanish.
Yes, which
or put them out there and
which
stuff like that.
true, to be honest.
You know, it, like I said, it's how you deal with it. Some homes you may allow your daughter to become womanish, but it's how you have the authority to control. You have the power to control how far it goes.
Definitely.
And that's why I always tell people with the little kids, I try not to do so much with them. I try to always keep them childlike, and I encourage them, even like if I'm training a child. When our session is done, I would be like, okay, where's your book, or where's your little doll thingy or whatnot? I want to keep you there. You know, I try to preserve the innocence as much as I can, because I don't want people to say that, because of their child was involved in this has exposed them to this, and they're now behaving this way or carrying themselves that way.
Understood.
But if we want to have another top 10 at Miss Universe, we need to have the experiences.
Yes, we do.
And that's the reason for having it start with the high schools, because I will say this, Chantal O'Brien, when she went off to Miss Universe, and she did place in the top 10, which is the first for the Bahamas, or even breaking top 16, top 20 in the Bahamas, which is the first for the Bahamas. But we have to remember, Chantal had experience. Because she competed for Miss Bahamas, she won on her third go. For Miss Bahamas, and that was an experience. And then a few years after winning Miss Bahamas World, she then competed for Miss Bahamas Universe, which is another experience. So sending her off internationally, we were confident
that she would do well.
That she would do well. Whereas we're always confident in the girls that we send off, but that experience truly makes a difference. It truly makes a difference, having experience.
Yeah, definitely. And it's almost like, I liked how you compared it almost to sporting, because it's the same thing as well. It's one thing to compete in a sports competition locally in the Bahamas, but when you're on that international stage and the jitters and certain things step in, you sometimes take a misstep, because even competing internationally as well, because I competed in the Miss Teenager Universe in Guatemala during 2011. And being on that international stage is a completely different beast. That's a completely different monster. And my pageant was in 100% Spanish. Everybody spoke Spanish. It
Yes,
was
with
only
teenagers.
there was only like 4 or 5 girls in the pageant who spoke English or who were bilingual, and everything was in Spanish. The instructions was in Spanish. I had to get someone to translate.
And having to have one of the contestants translate
For me. And you have to remember, this is back in 2011, so things like Siri in your phone and being able to say speak into this, that wasn't really a thing.
and get on your phone and go onto Google.
Right,
You weren't
and it
able to do
wasn't
that.
2011. Internet wasn't interneting like this, like how it is now. It wasn't the same thing. So that experience, like you said, it was a lot. And luckily, I did place top 10 in that. But that's because Theodore Elliott, he was with me every step of the way. He had experience with pageantry, and he told me what to expect. He made sure I was trained to the T, so you make sure to make sure when you have those moments to shine that you do it properly and you know where to step. You follow the routine to the T. You don't go off. It's all these little small things like you said, having that experience is really, really important. So a lot of times in pageantry, we take it for granted and think like, oh yeah, she can do it when she older. And really like just let her try the little smaller ones. See if she likes it. Then do the teen. Then do the world. Then do the universe.
You just
just take it one step at a time. One step at a time. So when it comes to things like, because even if I think back to, I think it was Anastasia Pierre, who was Miss
2011.
Yes,
Miss
that was
Universe,
around my year.
Miss Universe Bahamas 2011.
Right, and she wore that yellow dress. That's what influenced me to wear a yellow dress. To wear,
Listen,
like, it's me those small little details.
That gown, that particular, that specific gown is what it has influenced me to run to yellow.
Right, that
as
yellow.
an on stage or final night gown as well, because it's a standout.
Yes.
The yellow, especially on our beautiful melanin,
it always pops.
It stands out for me. Other than yellow, the colors would be red and white. They are very bold colors, and the white is always elegant, but the red it gives you a fierce feeling.
Yeah, like almost a lady.
And then the
in
yellow
red.
is like in between, So those are the 3 colors that I go to. But that gown too, I was inspired by that Anastasia wore.
Yes, and
Anastasia
that gown,
wore.
and then even because if I think about it really well, I feel like that was the last year Miss Universe really had that strong backing when it came to like sponsorship and organizations and corporations and corporate Bahamas really backing the pageant.
Yeah, that's
and really
another
funding it. And you saw Anastasia everywhere. You saw her to everything. She was invited. She was front row. She was in the Prime Minister's box. And the reason I remember that because that was the year also I think they opened the Thomas A. Robinson Stadium. Because I remember during my pageantry, I had to travel to Nassau and be there for the ribbon cutting for the opening of that ceremony. So I like how you mentioned that when it came to pageantry and pageant queens, it was those type of events where there's no Miss Teen, whatever, they have to come.
Yes.
Especially if you're a national
You were invited,
queen.
so the queens were in, like, now it's almost like we have to ask
to be invited
to certain events, and beforehand, like they called you up and they're like, hey, we need your king and queen to be not king because we're just moving more towards the male
side of
it was always, hey, we need your queen to come, she has to be there and so on and so forth. And then even having to prepare them to show up because there's hair, there's makeup, there's garments, you had sponsors, you had people willing, hey,
fashion designers willing to donate
is your queen attending, so on and so forth. I have a gown I would like them to wear. You don't have that anymore. We don't have that anymore. As even with hair and makeup being sponsored, you don't really have that anymore. So everybody's kind of concerned about pockets. So it's your director now has to have some coin.
To be able to get these things
director now has to have some coins stashed away somewhere for your reign. To make sure that your makeup is done when you step out, your hair is done, that you have garments, because now we don't have people just offering or wanting you to wear their things.
Which is kind of interesting if you think about it, because if you think about it even from a social media standpoint, you would think that a makeup artist, a hairdresser would be like, no, but I want to style Miss Bahamas, or I want to do her makeup for the red ribbon ball, so she could tag and be like, yeah, I do the makeup for Miss Bahamas. Everybody can see it because everybody can take pictures of her. She can end up on the headline of the news. That used to be the reciprocity. That used to be it. Of it. Like, yeah, and you ain't got to pay me, but the exposure.
That's why reigns were beautiful. That's why the experience was beautiful, because you had all of these creatives, in all aspects, assisting, jumping in to make sure that the queens were on par, they were on their best, they looked the best to sit next to dignitaries and whatnot, but we no longer have that. Not in 2024. It's unfortunate. Mind you, you do still have a few makeup artists that I work with, or hair hairstylists that I work with who, would offer their services, or you would, once I speak to them, it's no issues, there's no problem with doing that. But right now everybody's like, times are tough.
Right.
Things
but I think that's also because a lot of people don't realize that it just takes a conversation for something like that to happen. Some people they're a little, I say, apprehensive or a bit, I ain't too sure. Like, I want to ask, but what I can say, like, everybody, like
I
you
used to
say,
be-
play shy. Y'all too, like, play shy.
I used to be that person until I became
don't do that.
until I became a director myself.
Right.
And like, no, you have to be a little more aggressive. I'm really not an aggressive.
I don't know
I'm
why.
still not-
Listen, me.
I am still not as pushy or as aggressive that I should be or can be when it comes to things like that. But it's like I say, I'm growing in this as well as I go. I'm still learning a lot of things about myself and finding some strengths that I could have sworn I didn't have before. But it causes you, it pushes you, it forces you. Like even now, me sitting here so comfortably in front of this microphone that I've been running away from.
Yeah, I know that. Come, talk on this mic. Let's go.
But it does that. That's what it does. But like I said, that's why pageantry has been dwindling. You no longer have that community.
Right. The way it
you
used
don't
to be.
have the village we always speak of, It's not the way it used to be, and it's right now. It's kind of like it's hard. Like I said, we're struggling trying to build it back up.
Right. I feel like that's the same thing with not just pageantry, but with the arts and theater.
With arts, theater, even theater, that too within itself. We know how it is in our guild and whatnot. Trying to keep that going and trying to rebuild that, and trying to get more people involved.
Volunteering, it gets hard. It's really, really hard. But you got to stay encouraged, man. You got to hold into the good fight because it's all for a good cause. So now I'm going to put you in the hot seat a little bit, and I want you to tell me your top 5 past Miss Bahamas. Or pageant queens in general. It don't have to be Miss Bahamas. It could be Miss Bahamas Universe, World, Miss Earth. It don't matter.
Oh,
Give
wow.
me your top 5.
Let me hide my face.
Yeah, I want
Let me hide my face while I
tell
say
you, like, if
this.
we starting to put y'all in the hot seat, I want your top 5.
Oh,
Let's go.
wow.
And don't play favorites.
No, I'm not gonna play favorites.
Don't play favorites. And I think you could use run-ups too. I'm gonna give you that bly as well. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Well, thank you for that. That open window. For me, my past top 5 national queens and runner-ups would have to be
one.
No favorites.
No, this is not in order.
This is strictly off of their fierceness, the way they competed, the way they reigned, and just the mere fact that they're memorable,
right? Okay,
to this day, and that they still have some influence on the way I train and prepare girls.
Okay.
So that would have to be Tommy Comer.
Okay, big ups to Thomasina, of course. God sister.
It would have to be Celeste.
Okay, I'll definitely give you Celeste.
As a runner-up.
Darrol, don't be shy.
As a runner-up, I would definitely go with Cherie Delva.
Okay. Good choice.
I love. Yeah. Listen, it's. I can almost go back as far back as to Miss Bahamas' of 2002 and 2001. Is so many queens that have an influence on me.
You only got 2 more. Let's go.
Ooh, child.
Do.
I don't want to call the wrong names right now. The names aren't coming. But I would say Miss Bahamas 2000.
Okay.
She's now in tourism. By the way, the names aren't there right now. And then again, when Miss Bahamas actually got my attention would have been in the year 2001.
Okay.
That's when I paid attention. So the queen for that year, from 2000 onward, is when I've been following Miss Bahamas. But
honorable mentions. Because you don't say 5, so I'm wondering why you still look like you
honorable mentions would have been like Sherelle Williamson. She surely has reigned. She was beautiful, and that would have been the time when Selvanique first stood out to me. But she didn't make it into the top 5.
No, I don't think she made it into the top 5 that year.
Oh, Shantae Miller.
Okay.
Shanae Miller's sister.
Yeah.
She
Shanae
was-
Willow
and
sister.
I was actually there at the Miss Universe pageant.
Yes, yes.
When she competed at Miss Universe, and that was during COVID time. So you gotta love pageant if you're
going
traveling
during
during
COVID.
COVID time, where you have to wear a mask and take COVID tests and whatnot.
Right.
That was a beautiful experience being there and being able to support Miss Bahamas. Shante is definitely one of my queens because we have something in common. Like I always remember when I added the Kings to my organization, I had a king who was he's Christian and whatnot, and he was our chaplain, and he always reminded, like, if we're gonna do this, and if this is something that we're doing, we want other people to be a part of it, and we want this to be successful, we have to always keep God in it.
Yes.
So, and that's something that Shante and I have in common.
Definitely. She definitely led with that in her reign and
she
with
led
her
with that in
platform.
her reign. Like, that was no secret. That was not hidden. Like, you knew who she was.
Right.
You knew the type of person she was, and so on and so forth. So that's just always something that stuck with me. To see a queen so open and so bold.
Right.
And her beliefs.
Okay. Boy, I can't wait to use this clip to let y'all know this who Darrol like.
Chantel is definitely...
This who we don't like. The names he say. I hear him say your name, so I guess you don't make the cut, boo boo.
No, we had some other honor. Like, we had Brooke Sherman was one of a
Brooke
queen that I
has
love.
the most contagious smile I have ever seen. If
she
you
was
see her
Miss
smile, she
Earth.
can make anybody smile.
Like queens that were runner-ups, and then they had another title and they represented us at Miss Earth and whatnot, and the other competitions, like Darrenique Young, Brooke Sherman, Corel Pinder. Like, I took a liking to Miss Grand Bahama after Corel.
Yes.
A
lot of the Miss Grand Bahamas went to Miss Bahamas Universe and did extremely well. Or Miss Bahamas World.
Grand Bahama on the whole always does extremely well when we go to the national competitions. I must say Grand Bahama is always the one to look out for. Always the one to look out for.
So we gotta take a quick commercial break, and then we come back. We're gonna wrap up this conversation. Darrol, it's been fun having you so far,
It has been fun.
But y'all don't go nowhere.
I'm Flynn Doxson from Nose Witness News, reporting live from Sniper Paintball City. We're here with the manager, and he's going to tell us a little about what they have to offer.
Daddy, I got this at Sniper Paintball. We have paintball, cornhole, mini golf, batting cage.
Strike!
That's not a strike.
So come on down every Saturday and Sunday to Sniper Paintball City, located next to Crosstown, where you and the family can have a great time.
See you at Sniper.
Alright, yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is Islandish Podcast, episode 3. We've had Darrol here. I put him in the hot seat, and I am loving this. So as we get ready to wrap up this amazing conversation, I do want to ask you, where do you see the future of the King and Queens project going at this point? Because you are doing some major things. Your event is turning into almost the highlight fashion event to go to here in Freeport, Grand Bahama. You're doing an amazing thing with the young men and women, especially now that you're introducing it into the high school program. So what more could we see or expect from the King and Queens project throughout the next few years?
Even like, I don't know, those who would have seen the last show, the show last year, that was titled The Final Show, because I was going to take I had planned to take a little hiatus.
Oh yeah, but
from anything pageantry and modeling and so on and so forth. But I guess because my heart is so much in it, I just could not, or the kids wouldn't allow me to. And the persons that were involved, them and their parents, like, no, Mr. Darrol, like, I need this, like, you don't understand. I'd be looking forward to this every summer.
Right.
So just the love for it, for the pageantry, for the whole camaraderie, them being at rehearsals and practicing and being together and all the different events and stuff that we do, and the community services and stuff that I try to
incorporate.
I'm very, very big on community service and building community. So that's what I try to do with my kings and queens or anybody that's involved, or any organization that I'm involved in, really. I try to get anything that the community has going on, and I just try to get them involved as much as we can. Even with the theater,
yes.
I try to keep yard, for which I'm the past president for the yard group.
Big ups to yard, big ups to the Free Players Guild, big up to Regency Theater.
Anything that I'm involved in, I try to always keep the community, involved, or keeps us involved in the community. But I would have announced at the last show that on this past Sunday for the last King and Queen Project Showcase that I guess I won't be able to take this break.
No, keep
that
going.
I had planned to take, and that the annual showcase, because it's now our 6th year this year, will continue going forward. But it's not just all on pageantry, and I've been having to say this a lot recently, because people getting involved, they're thinking it's all just pageantry. The King and Queen Project is not just all pageantry. I try to develop like the whole child or the whole person, the whole individual, with assisting them with learning to be able to articulate, again, to find their own uniqueness and their own sense of style, just any way they can express themselves creatively, because I was given that opportunity through my parents and through my high school. So that's why I always tell people, especially when I now speak of BNHS, the Bahamas National High School Pageant, it's two things that I love, pageantry and school, because my alma mater, St. George's High School, had allowed me to be open and expressive in everywhere I could possibly be. I mean, from stepping to cheerleading to dance, you name it, any and everything I was able to do. In the arts, the performing arts, and we didn't even have performing arts then.
No, not back then. Not when
we
B
didn't
was
have
in school.
Performing arts then, but I was a performing arts student at St. George's High School. But the King and Queen Project, especially with getting more involved in the community. Just recently, I had them all participated, mostly the young men, participated in the grand race. For the 51st Independence celebration. Yes. So I tried. The girls don't always come out to when we had to do fun run walks.
She was there. Sasha was there. She came up.
Pulled through. The girls will usually come up because they hate to get up that early. But when it matters most to them, and which I can't fault them for, the causes when we do the fun run walk, especially like the ones for autism and the one for breast cancer that Ray Ferguson usually has, and the one that I am assist with or I'm involved in when the Resilience Center does the fun run walk for mental health. They show out. And those causes matters to me, matter to me, and it matters to them. So I can't fault them when they don't show up to everything. We still have some representation, so you would see more of the King and Queen Project prospects out in the community. Now it's become a thing because now I have people contacting me because the King and Queen Project is on somebody's application as a reference. So I'm like, okay, be a thing now. The kids are putting me on the applications as references, and I find that when I speak to some of these employers, because they ask me about the program and the organization and what it's about, because they try to figure out why it's on the application and whatnot. And once I'm able to share with them what it is we do and how that individual or those individuals were involved, they
blown away a little bit.
Blown away by it.
Good.
So I guess we're on to something.
Yes.
We're on to something. So, but definitely look out to the annual showcase. That will definitely continue. More community activities. You will see us out there a lot more. And I was supposed to have been I actually retired from coaching itself. Because I had taken on so much director roles in hosting pageants and putting on a pageant production and other productions that I'm involved in, that I was trying to pull away from coaching. But in January, I got a call for Little Miss Mary Star, the C School pageant, where I would have worked with Isabel Swaby, who was victorious in capturing Little Miss Emmett, the first Little Miss MSSCA, and then again Skylar Pye from a Little Miss Glitz Bahamas, and I'm like, oh boy,
you're sucked
like
into how do you?
And because they both won, they did and those girls shine. I won't take all the credit for it because it's them too. It's on them too. Their determination, their talent, their intelligence, and them wanting it.
Right.
That's another thing too. I like when they want it.
Yeah,
and they're
forcing
hungry
them
for it.
to
Nobody's
go into
forcing
it.
them. It's a joy working with those persons. It's easy to coach. It's easy to train them. But they worked hard, and now that because they have won and they're friends.
Yes.
I have more people calling to do more coaching. But I guess I'm now open and available for pageant coaching. 4418374.
All right, you better drop the number. Let them know they could reach you
or
they could
you
contact
could look up the King Queen Project on Instagram. And then look out too what's coming up for me other than the King Queens Project is again the Bahamas National High School Pageant.
Yes.
The first year was very successful.
I saw that. Y'all were on almost every island. I say, my gosh.
Yes, we had from Grand Bahama, we had Inagua here, we had Cat Island here, we had Eleuthera here, we had Abaco here, we had New Providence here, the capital. Did I say Abaco?
I think you did.
Well, just know we had a lot of the islands here participating in that, and those kids, they enjoyed themselves. And I was glad that they enjoyed the experience. It was 3 days. We had them here, had 3 days of competition and whatnot. It was a lot to take in because there was rehearsals and having to learn dance routines and so on and so forth, and then preparing yourself mentally to compete.
Yes.
It was a lot, but the atmosphere somehow was the most friendliest, calmest, inviting. They're all friends to this day.
Good.
They don't let me sleep. I've gained more children.
Yes.
And they communicate daily. I mean, we have in our group, they're praying together. They were assisting each other with coursework. Those are the kind of things I like people to take away from their pageant experiences.
Right.
Those things you just can't buy. You can't find any and everywhere. So those are the things that I like most about pageant experiences. And now coming into year 2025 with BNHS again for our second year, we now bringing on the junior high schools.
Nice.
Because we had quite a number of them reach out when we were advertising for the senior high schools. So now we will have junior high and senior high competing
I
here.
love it.
And another thing too, I was asked to bring that pageant to the capital.
Oh, okay.
But I opt not to take it
to Grand Bahama is home.
Because Grand Bahama 1 is home. This is where I was born and raised. This is where my alma mater is, my high school too. And then we go to the capital for all the other national competitions.
Yes.
All other national competitions we go to the capital for. And whilst it is expensive for us to travel there, especially if you don't live there or have any family or anybody there, it is costly. And I do realize that it's costly for persons coming from the family islands to Grand Bahama to compete. But they were here. Nonetheless, hopefully we do get more sponsors and get more people involved to assist us with that, especially tourism and traveling and whatnot in Bahamas here. We look forward to. But I am excited for BNHS 2025 because now we had only 11 schools.
Right.
But out of the 11 schools, we had 18 participants.
Nice.
18 kings and queens competing. Because a few schools didn't have both king and queen.
Yeah, some only had a queen.
Some only had a queen.
Or vice versa.
Right. But this coming year, we have 8 more schools now on board, and they all have kings and queens. I guess for some people, they needed to see how it goes
yes,
first. With Bahamians, you have to see how it goes first.
Let me see how this
play out first before we get involved.
You're right.
And
the taster.
And our king, and I was happy too that the pageant happened here in Grand Bahama. But the king nor the queen is from Grand Bahama.
Okay.
Our first queen, Kenia Minnis, is from North Eleuthera.
Nice.
Attending North Eleuthera High School. And our king, Stanford McIntosh, was from Abaco S.E. McPherson High School in Abaco. But we did have runner-ups, Bishop Michael Eldon, Journey Bannister, Grand Bahama. We did have Tabernacle Baptist Christian Academy, Khalil Lockhart, Grand Bahama. But we also had Abaco. boy, Abaco almost take it.
I love it. I love
Because
it.
they had king and first runner-up.
I love it.
So I'm looking forward to the next year for BNHS. That's what I'm most excited about.
Love it,
coming
love
up.
it, love it. I love this because I just was recently talking about this on the radio that there really isn't a lot of things for young people to be involved in
No.
and to do.
Other than
Whereas-
sport.
Yeah, if it's not sports, then it's really like, you could sing, yeah, but it's not really a lot of programs and even extracurricular activities for young people to get involved in. When we were in school, there were a lot
of
like
things
Rotary,
to do.
Rotaract Club was a big thing in all of the
Rotaract,
high
Key,
school,
Anchors,
GGYA,
yep.
Toastmasters. It was so
But
many
those
different
things
things.
are still there, but the kids don't seem really as enthused about
Right.
those clubs as
Those
like
programs.
we were.
Yeah. But I feel like this pageant program, it's because I think like most things have their time in the sun.
Mm-hmm.
So that might be what it is. Maybe those programs are good, but they're not appealing to young people because young people have changed so
Have
much.
changed so much,
And what they
yes.
see and what they're exposed to and their
Yeah.
ambitions and desires are different.
It is.
And so something like pageantry that we thought back then, oh, everybody ain't into that.
Mm-hmm.
Now they would be into it because now pageantry could branch off into them being an influencer or being a social
Influencer.
media this or being a
Or
brand
radio
ambassador.
host.
Or radio host. So different things like
you know,
that.
it's so many opportunities that follows or comes after your experience in pageantry.
Yes.
Because you learn things about yourself that you didn't know before. You find this, you get this boost of confidence, you know, so you're ready to almost tackle anything.
Right.
You know, but what's most interesting with pageantry and the young people now are the young men.
Yes.
I think I am one of few people, other than Oswald Ellis, who've been pushing the male pageants in the Bahamas.
Mm-hmm.
And because I do have most of the young,
Yes.
the pageant males, the pageant
Yes.
kings right now.
And I must say
under
they
my
are
belt.
complete and absolute gentlemen. I've met majority of them. They're smart, intelligent, athletic. They're involved in so many other things, not only pageantry. So it helps them to be very
Well-rounded.
well-groomed, well-dressed. They don't carry themselves, a certain kind of way. And they look like a lot older than their actual years, just by the way they speak and carry themselves. So I would definitely say that it is doing some good. And the fact that you're putting it in the high school
definitely
level
is.
is amazing.
It definitely is, and especially with the young men. For most of them, it is a new experience completely. Especially with some of them not ever going on stage or speaking publicly,
Right.
And then having to train and prepare and learn these things and these new skills and whatnot. It helps them, and they are grateful for it. They're very appreciative for that experience.
Right.
And that was a highlight at the Bahamas National High School pageant when we had it. A lot of people attended the pageant thinking they were just coming to a pageant. They
Right.
didn't, some of them didn't even know young men were involved.
Right.
And we had a lot of spectators come to the pageant because they saw young men
Right.
were involved. They wanted to see how this was gonna go, what
Yeah,
this
how
was
they
about.
can pull this
what,
off.
what are these young men really doing in this pageant? And they enjoyed that. They were entertained by them and they were impressed by them. And with the question and answer aspect, they got to hear them speak. There was speech competition. So it's a lot of things. A lot of things you gain from this,
Right.
I
Really
always
intangibles.
think you should have pageant, especially for people who like to do modeling. I still think you should dabble in pageantry a little bit.
Right.
Or people who want to do pageantry, I think you should dabble in modeling a little bit. It helps.
Yes.
Both experiences help. And then even through pageantry, most pageant kings and queens end up in modeling
Yes,
anyway.
Just by virtue of having those basic things and stuff. But this definitely has been an interesting and deep conversation. I want to keep you encouraged. Please keep this thing going. It is
Please,
going
thank
to be
you.
big. I can see it growing even bigger over the many years. Make sure y'all check out the King and Queens Project. Big up to my boy Darrol, all of his over 100 young people involved in this program.
Yes,
and
over 100.
it.
And I actually counted today and I was like, wow.
Yeah, exactly.
It
So,
was today I counted. I was like, how much people really involved in this group? Or whatnot?
right, that's a lot.
When I was gathering myself to come here, I was like, wow.
Yes, it is going into a big thing. So I do have to give you kudos. But that is our time on the
Thank
show
you,
for
and
today.
thank you for
guys
having me.
know what's going on. It's a pleasure to have you guys listening. And thank you so much for talking with us, Darrol. And we definitely can do this again. I may let you bring a queen or king with you the next time we have this
Definitely,
conversation. All
definitely.
right. So thank you guys for watching. This has been Islandish Podcast. Peace out.